Let's jump right into it. Today, in this explainer, we're cozying up for a kind of fireside chat about something absolutely universal, our oldest, most primal instinct. We're diving deep into the Papa's Wisdom newsletter to unpack a massive theme, how we face our fears. And we're going to look at this from every angle, from everyday psychology and intense military tactics, all the way back to the battlefields of the Civil War. It's going to be a wild ride. But first, I want to hit you with a mental model that might just completely flip how you see things. Ready? What if the very thing that's holding you back is actually just trying to protect you? Think about it. At its absolute core, fear is a biological shield, right? Recognizing the rustle in the tall grass is exactly what kept our ancient ancestors alive. But here's the catch. Our modern world has totally changed, yet that ancient alarm system, it's still ringing just as loud. And that brings us to what we call the fear paradox. It's this wild contradiction. Fear acts as this instinctual shield that keeps us safe from harm in the short term. But, and this is a huge but, when it becomes our go-to reason for avoiding action, it completely paralyzes us. Sure, dodging what scares you keeps you cozy and safe today, but it's quietly slamming the doors shut on a wider, more amazing life tomorrow. So how in the world do we actually dismantle this paradox? Well, there's this brilliant guiding philosophy from Papa, the author behind the newsletter we're exploring today. He says the next time that paralyzing, knot-in-your-stomach feeling rises up, try this. Pause and look at it from a little distance, as if you were watching someone else. Then ask what is really behind the fear. That is so powerful, right? Stepping back to find that honest self-understanding. That is literally the first key to breaking out of the cage. It takes you from being a helpless victim of your fear and turns you into an objective observer. Now, conquering your fear absolutely doesn't mean you have to just blindly charge into the fire. Actually, clinical studies on exposure therapy show us the incredible power of a much more gentle approach. You don't have to just brutally crush every uncomfortable feeling. Instead, when you inch toward dreaded situations carefully, step by step, and with the right support, the danger usually just starts to shrink. Just taking action, even when your hands are shaking, literally reshapes your confidence. Okay, let's pivot to a really fascinating duality. We hear about the fear of failure all the time, right? That paralyzing dread of totally messing up. But what about the fear of success? It sounds crazy, but these two fears actually share a lot of the same cognitive wiring in our brains. They're just triggered by completely different things. Fear of failure hits when you're desperate to dodge a mistake. But fear of success? That's the creeping anxiety about what on earth is going to happen after you get that big win. To really wrap our heads around this fear of success, imagine you're climbing this incredibly steep, brutal mountain path. You finally hit the summit, you feel this massive rush of pride, but then, boom. You instantly look up and realize there are entirely new, even more demanding ridges ahead of you. It's the weight of the summit. This is where imposter syndrome kicks in, that awful feeling like you're a total fraud. You get anxious over the heavier responsibilities, the potential resentment from others, and man, the sudden loss of your comfortable privacy. You see, you're not actually afraid of the success itself, you're terrified of the cost of being noticed. So how do you handle that weight? Papa shares this truly beautiful piece of wisdom from his late father, Papa Q. Bear. He used to teach that when you finally reach the limelight, you absolutely must stay humble in the moment, accept that skills and hard work earned that right, and embrace the responsibility that comes with success. I love that. Success isn't just a shiny trophy sitting on your shelf. It's a duty. It is a literal obligation to use your talents to their fullest and then turn around to mentor and coach others so they can climb their own mountains. Okay, but what about when the fear isn't just a creeping anxiety? What if it's visceral, intense, and right in your face? For that, we gotta look at the tactical mindset of former Navy SEAL Commander Jocko Willink. This guy led the most highly decorated special operations unit of the entire Iraq War. And his take? He says, fear is a good thing. Fear keeps you alive. Do you let it paralyze you, or do you let it focus you? Channel that energy into execution. Willink doesn't view fear as some weakness you need to deny. No way. He treats it as a high-pressure, incredibly potent energy source just waiting to be harnessed. He actually outlines this process he calls the warpath. Step 1, realize that most fear is frankly just a massive, exaggerated illusion built up in your own head. Step 2, confront it directly. You literally have to go on the attack, because hiding just feeds the beast and makes it grow. And step 3, when your brain's fear center, the amygdala, is just flooding your nervous system with panic, you harness that crazy heightened awareness. You fall back on your training, you prepare like a maniac, and you channel all that raw nervous energy into decisive action. Because at the end of the day, inaction is the real enemy. Now, To truly grasp the profound power of taking action despite overwhelming, mind-numbing terror, let's look at an ultimate real-world metaphor. We're going to step way back in time to July 1863, to a small farming town in Pennsylvania that somehow became the site of the bloodiest battle of the American Civil War, the Battle of Gettysburg. It wasn't just some tactical turning point in a history book. It was a profound human tragedy that pushed the absolute limits of human endurance and showed what ordinary people can do when faced with an absolute nightmare. The whole thing kicked off on July 1st as this completely unexpected collision, pushing Union forces back right through the streets of the town. But it's day 2, July 2nd, that gives us an unbelievable example of overcoming paralyzing dread. The Union line was literally breaking apart, and the 1st Minnesota Regiment was ordered to launch a desperate, essentially suicidal charge just to buy 5 critical minutes for reinforcements to arrive. They absolutely knew the sheer terror waiting for them in that field, yet they charged anyway. It is the ultimate, heartbreaking example of choosing duty over panic. But it wasn't just the soldiers in uniform. Think about the heroism of the everyday civilians caught in the crossfire. Residents like Sarah Broadhead, who kept a diary, recorded the sheer, earth-shaking terror of nonstop artillery shelling. Yet, so many of these citizens conquered their panic not by hiding in their cellars, but through purposeful action. They served others. They sheltered neighbors and tended to bleeding wounded men right in the middle of the fire. It perfectly illustrates that meaningful, purposeful action, serving others, is the absolute best antidote to paralyzing fear. So let's bring it all together. What do we actually take away from this? First, build up your resilience by approaching your everyday fears gently, step by step. Second, when the big, scary stuff hits hard, channel that nervous, jittery energy into hyper-focused execution and preparation. Third, when you do win, accept the heavy responsibilities of your success without shrinking back. And finally, when you're standing at a crossroads, always act for a stronger future, rather than just retreating into the quick, easy comfort of what you already know. I want to leave you with one final, deeply provocative thought from Papa Shej to chew on. He says, pay close attention to the fears that quietly shape your daily choices. Those fears often mark the exact spot where your next step forward is waiting. Seriously, the things you find yourself avoiding the most, they are more than likely the exact things you need to pursue to level up your life. So take a step back today, take a good hard look at your fear, and ask yourself, what incredible, life-changing door is your fear keeping closed right now?